Hello, welcome to another episode of DrinkOrder. I'm your host, Bob Peters, and today we have a very, very special guest, one of my favorite people in the whole world. We're here at Merchant Trade in downtown Charlotte at this beautiful location with one of my very good friends, Mr. Henry Schmulling. Hey, thanks for letting us come up here today, brother.
Thank you for having me,
Absolutely. Bro. Okay, so before we get started, typically we start off with a shot here on DrinkOrder, so tell everybody what you picked out for us today.
So obviously, Fernet is something that bartenders all over the world enjoy.
That's right. The handshake.
We do a lot of that ourselves. But this is infused Fernet Branca with a local Pure Intentions Honduran dark roast coffee.
Oh, cool. So coffee infused Fernet?
Yes, sir.
Good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
Cheers. Oh, wow. That's delicious.
Put a pep in your step.
There we go. Good morning. Okay, so typically the way that I like to do things is I like to talk a little bit about the past, the present, and the future. So let's start off, of course, with the past. I see you have made us 3 very special drinks. Which one of these represents the past?
This little beauty right here. This is Grandma's Alibi.
Grandma's Alibi right here?
Yes, sir. A little bit of Fernet Branca. Some yellow chartreuse. Cardamaro. It's a thistle-based aperitif. So this was made actually when we were working together at Pisces back in the day. I kind of threw this together a little bit and fine-tuned it. I used Old Scout from Smooth Ambler, which is no longer available.
One of my favorites.
The 7-year-old. A little bit of Cardamaro, yellow chartreuse, and then Fernet Branca with expressed lemon peel.
I think I need to try it.
I think you should.
Man, that is silky, silky, silky smooth.
It's dangerous.
I like the way the chartreuse plays off the Cardamaro. That's really interesting. And it's fantastic. Oh wow. Okay. So tell us a little bit for those around Charlotte and in the area. Tell us a little bit about how you got your starting at the very beginning. Like what was your first bartending gig ever?
My first bartending gig was at the original Duckworth location when it was just a little hole in the wall.
Where was the first location?
Well, the first location was in Mooresville, but the first Charlotte location was in the Parktown Village Shopping Center, across from Park Road Shopping Center, and pretty much in between Park Road Shopping Center and Montford.
Okay. So what were you doing there?
I started out serving, and it just kind of went organically. They had already started a little bit with the craft beer movement, and we're one of the only places that really kind of had a decent selection of craft beer.
And you were about how old at that point?
21, 22.
Right on.
So started out serving. I had a couple other serving jobs in the industry. Worked in the industry since I was about 17. Got on board there and just had already been into craft beer for a while. Besides the fact of my age.
Since you were 21.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that's exactly right.
That's fair. Do you think that craft beer, your interest in craft beer, got you into bartending?
I don't think it just got me into bartending. I think it kept me in the industry until I got to craft cocktails. It's something that developed with me, especially in the Charlotte market, kind of as we went along in my career. It was all about teaching and enhancing the culture, and that was something that was special to me, just kind of watching that and cultivating it and helping it grow.
So if we fast forward a little bit past your first place at Duckworth, where did you go next?
After that, I was kind of all over the place. I worked in NODA at multiple different venues for a few years, but at that point in time, I was also focusing on opening my own brewery. So,
Oh, wow.
That obviously did not come to fruition. Just kind of wrong place, wrong time. But it still was an amazing learning experience, and I ended up growing my own hops for 4 or 5 years, built multiple different small batch homebrew systems and was brewing and came up with tons of recipes. So that was a lot of my main focus. I was doing a lot of volume bartending in those days, but still staying strong with the craft beer aspect of things. Conniption Navy Strength Gin out of Durham, some Plantation Pineapple Rum, and finally Montelobos Joven Mezcal.
Now that we've talked about the past, let's talk a little bit about the present. So tell us how you got involved with Merchant and Trade and how you got to such a beautiful, beautiful space, and a little bit about the program that you've created here, and then start off by telling me what's in this cocktail. What is the name of this one?
This is Death from Below.
Death from Below.
Death from Below. So this is actually a cocktail I have on the menu downstairs at Angeline's.
Okay.
But this is a favorite of mine. It's a little weird just because the combination of flavors isn't necessarily what one would immediately think come to mind. But it's a combination of base spirits that I actually love using: mezcal, rum, and gin. Believe it or not.
Oh, that is weird.
So that's 3 different base spirits.
Mezcal, rum, and gin.
And so this is a little potent.
Death from Below. Okay.
Hence the name.
Okay.
But Montelobos
Okay.
Joven Mezcal with Plantation Pineapple.
Okay.
And then we have the Conniption Navy Strength Gin. So 114 proof gin, tie it off. Fresh lime,
Okay.
spiced ginger syrup with Demerara and some mole bitters.
Oh, it totally works.
Yeah.
Totally works.
Yeah. Refreshing, but you don't pick up, it's just a very well balanced,
It is.
pretty seamless, and it's still complex on the back end.
The Navy Strength Gin plays those great notes that are in the finish. You get the smoke up front, and then the smoothness of the plantation rum, which plays great off the pineapple and the lime, of course. And then it finishes with the complexity of that Navy Strength Gin. That is fantastic.
Yeah. I'm a big
Delicious.
fan of that. But I love that combination in all kinds of drinks. So, I mean, you can modify your balance, modify how much you're using of each, but I definitely love using that combo a lot.
That's really great. Oh, that's dangerous. Yeah. Okay, so tell us how you got here.
Honestly, the Kimpton job kind of fell into my lap. I was not familiar with the company prior to kind of applying for this. Stefan Hubner
Yep.
had mentioned it. I left Charlotte for a little while, as you know. I moved away for about a year. He had mentioned it to me before I left, that it was a great company, going to be an amazing opportunity, and somehow or another, little side steps in building and construction obviously kind of made it take a little bit longer for this place to get built, and thankfully I moved back just in time. I was here for about 3 months after moving back from Cincinnati. I was pretty much just doing consulting work, and Stefan reached out to me again. It's like, you need to apply for this job.
That's awesome.
So I did immediately. Ended up having like 3 or 4 interviews in a little basement type room in South End. Had no idea what the space looks like or what it was going to become, and talked to those guys and kind of it was the right fit, right time. And once we started getting underway, I really kind of understood the magnitude of this project and how huge it was and what this place is going to be, and had really no idea once I signed on. So it's been a constant learning experience in multiple different ways. I mean, just professionally and bartending, volume. It's been really good.
So, without giving away any secrets or anything, what would you say your biggest piece of advice to a lead bartender or a head mixologist or a manager even of a place that's going to do some pretty substantial volume, but also wants to stay true to incredible cocktails on the craft side. What do you think that might be?
I have 10 cocktails on the menu that I batch in either 3.5 gallon or 5 gallon containers. And we go through those 2-3 times a week, maybe even 4 times depending on the cocktail.
Right.
I mean, there are certain Thursdays we will blow through 13 to 15 gallons of cocktails in one evening.
That's incredible.
So I would just think about what your programming is going to look like, what your menu is going to look like. If you're doing stuff on draft, I would recommend doing spirit-forward cocktails, no citrus, or if you need some type of acid, I would use a citric acid or something of that level.
Okay.
I have self-agitating kegs, so they pretty much sit on a magnetized base and essentially a centrifuge.
Right.
So you drop a Teflon-coated magnet into your keg.
Right.
This magnetized base then takes that and spins that around.
It keeps it stirring the
so
entire
that
time.
The entire thing creates a vortex and cyclone inside of the keg.
That's incredible.
Regardless of the density of the spirit or ingredients, you have a perfectly blended cocktail every time you pour on draft.
That's amazing.
So they can get expensive, but
that's super cool though.
it makes sure that, initially, before I was able to get that installed, I was having to send a bar back to the back once an hour, every hour, to lift a keg, shake it
right,
violently to make sure that everything was evenly distributed and put it back down. So that's just horrible for your bar backs to have to do, and I felt so bad for them.
Right.
But it's necessary if you want a consistent cocktail. Got a little bit of Tagoshu persimmon vinegar made with brown rice and spring water from Japan.
So now we've talked a little bit about the past and a little bit about the present. Can we talk about the future, sir?
Sure.
What do we got here?
This is a headhunter. So this is a fun one. This is actually bringing it back to some roots that we kind of explored a little bit. Over the years, shrubs have become increasingly more popular. I want to say the first time I ever started using just straight vinegar or flavored vinegars was about 4 years ago, maybe a little bit more when we were kind of playing around with things. So this one's actually really fun. There's a lot of weird ingredients in it, but it kind of combines everything from the past, the present, and puts it into a little bit of new spin. I've been seeing a little bit more shrub cocktails on menus, but haven't really seen vinegar used as frequently in the Charlotte market. Obviously, that's a little bit different in other places with a little bit more developed cocktail programs. This is a persimmon and brown rice vinegar from Japan.
Wow.
A toasted cinnamon syrup with halite diamond salt, Copper and King's American brandy, and Old Grandad 114.
So what is diamond salt?
It is one of the purest salts on the face of the planet. It is exceptionally clean. It's delicious.
Gotta try that.
It just adds a very nice little crisp note to the finish, but cuts through a lot of that and just helps blend it out very well. It's also got caramelized green chartreuse on the rinse in the glass, and then a charred sprig of rosemary for aromatics.
Fantastic. All of those ingredients really, really harmonize. Like it's not salty.
Nope.
But I can taste the salt in there. The sugars I can taste. The pomegranate I can taste, but it's not overwhelming. There's almost like a molasses thing that's happening in there with all those ingredients. That's delicious.
It's a fun one.
Yeah.
And we're a little bit of booze hounds, so that's.
Now is this on the menu?
No.
Currently?
That is just recently conceptualized.
So it's coming. It's in the future.
That will be on the next menu for sure.
In the future, okay, I like it.
For sure.
So, I think we've about covered everything that I wanted to talk to you about today. But thank you so much, and congratulations on all of your success, man. This is absolutely fantastic, and I can't wait to get back up here and have another cocktail.
I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Can't wait to take care of you and the wifey. I'm gonna get after this one.
Get it out. This is good stuff, man.
I built that cocktail in my mind, talking to customers, made it once. That was it.
It fell out of you?
It just fell out of
Don't
me.
you love how when that happens?
Yes.
You're like, okay, I thought, occasionally I do feel like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So that, I love when that happens. I mean, that is definitely not all the time.
Right.
But yeah, that was I want to use, I was thinking just bourbon at first, then it's like, no, I need a split base. And the Copper and Kings American brandy is wonderful in and of itself, but it tones down the OGD 114 a little bit. That's another favorite whiskey.
That's all I want to drink from now on.
Done.
Okay.
Done.